Hey guys. Hi. How are you? Yeah? You guys just hanging out? Yeah, hi. I like your cool demon skull mask. That's really, really edgy, bro. And you, with your COVID shield, you gotta follow the science. And you're really following the science. Oh, here comes my ride, guys. It's been good talking to you, but my ride, I got to go. Bye.
What's up everyone, Savage Gamer here, and this is my review for Crossfire Sierra Squad on PSVR2.
Let me get that. Oh shit, yes.
Okay, so right away, a tactical shooter, this is not. Not even fucking slightly. So if that's what you were rightfully expecting as a result of the misleading trailer footage, you may be disappointed a bit. But before you go all Columbine over that hiccup, it's also not a terrible game. It's just not what I'm certain we were all expecting and hoping for. So let's get into the review. But first, if you could do the stupid shit that YouTube tells me to ask you to do so that my channel can grow, and if you enjoy non-woke, honest gaming content, then you're at the right place to subscribe. Alright, let's go. So, Crossfire Sierra Squad released today. As to why my review is somewhat late, it's not always easy to get PSVR2 review keys when you refuse to promote things like the trans and kids agenda, especially in a leftist-leaning industry like gaming, especially being just under 1,000 subscribers. So I have to buy most everything myself, out of pocket, with very little exception. Shout out to those developers who do take care of me though. Meaning, in most cases, I have to wait for release date, and also after working full time. But that could be for better, more honest feedback, as I'm not beholden to any of the developers for a softer review if things tend to go sour, as my hard-earned money is on the line, same as most of yours. So, what is Crossfire? I'm just gonna call it Crossfire moving ahead. We all know what the fuck I'm talking about. Well, I'd say that Crossfire is a mix of Crisis Brigade 2 with a touch of Blood and Truth, a dab of Guns and Stories, a dollop of Bravo Team, and a splash of Contagion VR, all blended together. This is through and through on the rails light gun arcade shooter. So if that isn't your thing at all, then you probably aren't going to enjoy this nor find any redeeming qualities about it. However, it does offer some decent times in VR, but there are some mechanical issues and weird development choices that we need to discuss. Also, for this review, to avoid any spoilers, I'm only showing you guys footage of the first 3 or 4 levels out of a total of 13 single-player campaign missions. But Crossfire also offers a rather extensive additional list of squad campaigns, which you can play solo or with AI or with up to 3 of your friends, which I did not cover here as I have no fucking friends because I don't really fucking like most people. So to start things off, we'll talk graphics, which they are mostly fine. Things look relatively sharp in the headset with some noticeable reprojection when enabling smooth turning, which you will need to set yourself as the default movement has it set to click turning, which fucking sucks. The surrounding areas and backdrop all look pretty great, however very static, as nothing seems to react with anything other than some basic shadowing effects, but no real layers of immersion, such as wind blowing things like flags or dust around, no sunlight rays changing the lighting or anything. Everything kind of looks a bit lifeless and sterile, but good for the most part, if that makes sense. That is, with the exception of the only things moving here being the NPC enemies, who look absurdly bulky and clunky. Which, if this weren't an arcade shooter, I would probably obliterate that design and scale of them, but it actually works for this type of game in particular. Things like explosions also look great, but in that arcadey way, not ultra realistic or anything. But again, for this type of game, it works. And lastly, I'm a huge appreciation for destructibles in the environments, which surprisingly there are a few here at least. Nowhere near as many as I would prefer, but at least there's something to shoot at other than just enemies. Moving on to sound design, the sound design is actually really great. The gun sounds all sound good, explosions sound impactful, and there is some chatter going on around you from the enemies that help keep things feeling alive. They also have included some license-free metal-type music, which I found to be cheesy more than cinematic vibe I think they were going for, but no real complaints there either.
Malfunction. Also for recon.
Now on to gameplay. Okay, well, here's where things start to kind of fall apart a bit. So I'm not talking about the style of game, that being an arcade shooter. It is what it is. But I'm going to get into the feel and flow of things because I'll be honest, there is a decent amount of jank here. And some questionable decisions were made when it comes to the core gameplay mechanics. Starting off with the reloading. I don't fucking like it. I think it's slow and hindering and non-intuitive. You can manually eject a magazine, but then you grab into thin air near you, or near your dick, to get a new magazine, and it kind of auto-loads it in for you, which is a rather slow animation, about 2.5 seconds. And that may not sound too bad, but when you are being flanked by enemies, it feels painfully slow. And, you know, they had just allowed for full immersion and manual reloading, you'd be much more efficient at it yourself. Next, I'll talk about the odd grab detection. It's really off at times. I'd have to grab for my floating chest gun repeatedly until it decided to allow me to hold it. I also wanted to use my pistol in my right hand and a shotgun in my left. However, it would not, under any circumstances, allow for me to switch my pistol from one hand to the other. And it's literally impossible to grab the pistol from your left side with your right hand, especially because you can't fucking see it. In fact, you can't see anything that you want to grab. Not your pistol, not your magazines, not even other weapons. I can't tell you how many times I tried to grab a new magazine and instead grab my pistol or the firearm off my back because everything is literally invisible. You must grab in the proximity of where the items are and they magically appear in your fucking hands. But it doesn't always work out the way intended, I've come to find out, which can not only be frustratingly annoying, but also result in you looking like an utter fucking retard, flailing and fumbling for the item that you need, which defeats the entire wanted feeling of feeling like a fucking badass. Also, while there are some rather limited ragdoll physics when you shoot the enemies, once they die, they simply disappear. No gorish exploding headshots, blood, or taking out a vengeance, defiling a dead corpse with an abundance of bullet holes for even having the nerve to fuck with you. Nope, they just vanish. Sort of like our paychecks do to Bidenomics. Now, the sniping segments, while I did sort of enjoy this aspect of the game while playing, I couldn't help but think how much better Sniper Elite VR was at this. And why didn't Crossfire at least attempt to meet that level of intensity or immersion? It felt a lot more like playing Operation Wolf on PSVR2 when you enter the first person mode and get to snipe targets. They just sort of keep showing up, standing in the same designated areas, and you pick them all off, but it never really felt very challenging or as satisfying as something like Sniper Elite VR managed to do. But look, I understand. I can't fault a game for what a game isn't. I can only judge it for the game it actually is, and I do get that. However, I also can't just disregard all the many reference points, implementations, and development from past titles either, when a game is dipping its toes into a similar arena. But let's move on to performance, and I'll wrap this shit up. The performance felt great. I believe it's running at 60 FPS with 120 frames reprojected. It feels pretty smooth. The haptics also do feel great. I honestly experienced no bugs, glitches, or crashes during my playtime, so I'd say its performance is pretty fucking great. All in all, I did have some fun playing Crossfire. No, it was not the advanced tactical shooter that I was hoping for, but that's okay. We do have my all-time favorite tactical shooter coming to PSVR2 next month, and that being Alva, so let's not let what it isn't disappoint anyone. So what Crossfire is a fun popcorn shooter, kind of like a Fast and the Furious movie. Lots of action with very little substance and a forgettable story. It's not a very immersive title, but it is a decent on-the-rails arcade shooter that's pretty clean through and through. It has its issues, but I think if you go into this knowing what to expect and something like this amuses you and is worth your time into playing it, then you'll probably enjoy it. If you like Crisis Brigade 2, then I'd say don't pass this one up. Plus, this one you can actually play seated and there is a crouch button, unlike Crisis Brigade 2, which I can't even fucking play because I play all games seated. But anyways, with all that being said, I'm going to give Crossfire Sierra Squad a 6.5 out of 10. I'm reviewing it as an arcade shooter, nothing more. Taking into consideration its price and amount of content on offer, that's where it sits for me. Had this only been a $20 title, I'd have given it a higher score, as that's kind of where I feel this should be priced at. 30 does feel a bit steep, considering Gun Club VR was only 20, and in my opinion, blows this shit away. But perhaps some added DLC and a few patches to fix the hit and misses on grabbing and render the invisible pistol a magazine belt, as well as allow for manual reloading, this could be a much better title than it currently is. But again, that's just my opinion. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please hit like and subscribe so to help my channel grow. I cannot do it without you, and I appreciate every fucking one of you. Crossfire Sierra Squad, not a bad game, but I'd say wait for a sale. I'd probably pick it up around 20 bucks if I were you. And yeah, until next time, have fun, stay savage, keep gaming. I'm out, y'all. Peace.
capture over to us.
Carlos, what's that convoy plane?
I can't tell you right now. Confirming the end of the mission as of now. Good job. Sierra Squad, return to your regularly assigned duties.
They used us all along, and now they're telling us hands off? This feels like shit.
Let's head back and get some R&R.